My lords, it's a great pleasure to follow the noble Lady Baroness Altman and her powerful plea that I hope the government will listen to. I speak also to Amendment 1 in the names of the noble Lord Stevenson of Balmacara, Sharkey and Equal, to which I was pleased to attach my name, as I did to a very similar amendment at committee stage. And any noble lords who've been reading back to second reading will note that I majored on a duty of care in my speech in that debate. In that, I used what you might call the expanded definition of duty of care, so to suggest that it might not be too much to put on the face of the bill a demand that the financial sector not engage in reckless, fraudulent, corrupt, obviously damaging systemic behaviour, including shipping off tranches of cash into tax havens, deploying complex financial instruments that they clearly don't understand, handing over control of markets to automated systems without adequate controls, things that threaten the security of all of us. But while I believe that principle remains sound, the lawyers convinced me that in narrow legal terms, duty of care could not be stretched that far. So what the amendment here clearly introduces is a duty of care to individual customers. As clause EA here says, that their vulnerability, behavioural biases or constrained choices should not be exploited. Once perhaps such a clause was not necessary. There was a not ideal, but certainly useful constraining paternalism. Your local bank manager would look after you, both in limiting borrowing and making allowances for unexpected disasters, personal and business. That's long gone, as of course has almost universally the local bank manager and all too often the local bank branch. So we need the law to step in to protect people, to constrain the behaviour of financial institutions. As the noble Lord Sharkey said, we're in situations where malfeasance has just continued to grow, technical developments being one cause of that. And as the noble Lady Baroness Altman said, scandals and fraud have plagued consumers. So that's the institutional side of where we are. But we also have to think about the state that people, our society is in today, make the law fit for our modern times. For these are times of massive insecurity. The idea of saving, of even making the incoming funds match the essential outgoings each month, was an impossible dream for millions of people, even before the arrival of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. No one can know when sudden illness might strike, and this bill has been championed, and I pay credit to their work, by Macmillan Cancer Support. Or it could be a redundancy or a pandemic that strikes people unexpectedly. That's one side of vulnerability and care that financial institutions should acknowledge. As Macmillan highlights, almost 1 in 3 of those severely financially impacted by their cancer diagnosis had to take out a loan or credit card debt. That's a public health issue. What we have are institutions that have been making profit from customers, sometimes for decades, and they have a duty to act compassionately and fairly in such circumstances. But I think we also need to pay a bit of attention to the elements of this clause referring to behavioural biases and constrained choices. The noble Lord Holmes of Richmond has been a rather isolated champion in this bill on issues around the use of artificial intelligence, algorithms, and issues such as their potential bias. But the noble Lord has also highlighted the way in which financial companies now have a historically uniquely detailed understanding of customer behaviour and the chance to exploit that through complex, opaque mechanisms. There has always been, as the noble Lord Stevenson of Balmacara said in introducing an amendment, asymmetrical access to information between financial sector companies and their clients. But this has been massively magnified by technology, something that's only likely to grow. To create an assumption that this inequality of arms should not be misused should, we hope, constrain the behaviour of the financial sector. Or at least, if it doesn't do that, provide a potential route for redress should it occur. There are already many who have need to seek redress for the behaviour of financial sector companies. I spent time with some of them this morning at a meeting of the Transparency Task Force. As the noble Lord Stevenson said, the government is likely to now to say, wait, but why? We know there's already an existing massive problem and a huge risk. If the government does not acknowledge the need to act now, then I offer the Green Group's strong support for Lord Stevens' intention to test the views of the House. Thank you, my lords.